It's no BS, it's all truth.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
It's time to get straight to the point. Here's Adam Sager.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into episode 2 of Straight to the Sox. It's a podcast all about the Chicago White Sox, and the winter meetings are here. They're virtual. We don't get all the excitement that we get every single year of, them being in San Diego or Orlando or Dallas or Houston or Miami or wherever they are. We don't get the excitement of all those guys being together and the writers being there and the bloggers being there. We're seeing rumor. We don't get any of that this year. But, like years past, Rickon is wheeling and dealing. And he gets the guy that he was trying to get at the trade deadline this past year. And it would have been much better if they could have made this move, 4 months ago or whenever the trade deadline was, August 31st, to get another playoff run out of this guy. But they finally get Lance Lynn from the Texas Rangers for Dane Dunning and left-handed relieving prospect Avery Wims. So that deal is complete. What do I think about it? It's what the White Sox needed. I mean, would I have preferred other arms? Yes. I'm not a huge Lance Lynn guy. I think that he has been very good these last couple of years. I will give him that. I'm hoping it can continue. He's, 33? So, I mean, I guess we kind of just got to wait and see how he ages. But so far, so good. He throws hard. He strikes out a lot of guys. He throws a ton of fastballs. Yeah, he's 33. Will be 34 towards the start of the season. He's only on a one-year contract. Last year, he had a 3.32 ERA. 1.5 Fangraphs WAR, which WAR for pitchers is hard, but it's a metric that we use. His 2019 season was the big season he had. That was kind of his bust out monster season. That was his first real big season. 3.67 ERA, but he threw 208 innings, over 10.5 strikeouts per 9, just around 2.5 walks per 9, 6.8 Fangraphs WAR. His fielder independent pitching was 3.13, so you'd like to see that. And again, he's just a hard-throwing guy. He's a veteran. Now, he hasn't pitched in the playoffs much per se. He's got 26 innings. In 2018, he pitched for the Yankees and only threw 2 innings. In the playoffs, he got lit up. He walked guys. Before that, it was 2015. He threw an inning. 2014 was the last time he threw over 2 innings. So he does have some postseason experience, but it hasn't come for a while. Actually, when he made his debut in 2011, it was for the St. Louis Cardinals, who then had manager Tony La Russa. So this is something that I'm sure Tony came in, and we know Rickon liked Lance Lynn before Tony came in and before Tony was the manager. But I'm sure Tony La Russa came in and said, yeah, I really like this kid. He's a big guy, burly guy. He's got the big beard. He's, Bobby Jenks size. That's kind of the when you look at him, that's kind of what I think of, that big burly guy that, he's not one of these small athletic pitchers or a guy like Michael Kopech who's just jacked. He's just a guy who goes out and he throws the ball. He throws the ball very hard. And he strikes out a lot of guys. So this is a move that, and here's the big thing. The Texas Rangers front-loaded his contract. So his contract this year, again, it's only 1 year, but it's only $8 million. So, I mean, with that really helps the payroll in terms of, okay, do the Sox consider now making that push for George Springer? Jeff Passan says that's not happening. But this is the type of move where Lance Lynn slides into your front 3 of your rotation, assuming they don't go get a Trevor Bauer or something along. Trevor Bauer is the only guy, unless you're trading for Blake Snell or a Sonny Gray, that is going to jump him. And you'd be ludicrous now, in my opinion, to go back into the starting pitching trade market. You traded your guy. You traded one of your young starters that made a good impression in his first 7 starts last year, and that's Dane Dunning. But you don't go back out and go for a Blake Snell, which, to be honest, I'm kind of glad they didn't go for Blake Snell and trade away. In my opinion, you couldn't come out of this offseason trading Andrew Vaughn or Michael Kopech. And I think this is a sign that says we're not going to trade either of those guys. They will be a part of this team moving forward. Both will start in the minors this year, for sure, in my opinion, unless Michael Kopech just impresses the hell out of these guys once he gets to spring training. But here's the big question I have now with this move. So you have Lucas Giolito as your number 1. Keuchel Lynn will be 2-3, however they want to set it up. Then you have Dylan Cease, who remains. Everybody thought he could be a trade candidate. Well, new pitching coach Ethan Katz, talked about Cease, talked about getting him right, getting him, attacking the zone more, trusting his stuff like I've been saying for months. He doesn't trust his stuff. Well, here we are. Dylan Cease will be your 4 heading into the season. Now, the big question for me is because Garrett Crochet is not ready. I think Michael Kopech is going to start in the minors. He's going to need some starts. He hasn't pitched competitive baseball in 2 years because he had Tommy John surgery 2017. Remember, he made his debut in 2017. Popped the arm, had the surgery, gone all 2018. Then the pandemic hit. He opted out due to some personal reasons, and that's for him. I mean, that's his right to opt out. But we've seen reports here and there that he's been working his ass off to stay ready, keep his arm ready to go when this season starts. And Jeff Passan was the latest who mentioned that Kopech, by stuff he's heard, has looked tremendous throwing the baseball. So how many starts do the White Sox think he needs in the minors till he's ready? And obviously this depends a lot on how he pitches, how he looks. Is he just mowing guys down, and he's a new pitcher who has better control, isn't walking as many guys, and the K numbers are still staying up? If that's the case, then maybe he comes a lot quicker than we even thought. But here's the thing. How many starts? Because a lot of people still want them to go get a Jose Quintana. They want him to go get, whoever, one of these one-year starting pitchers. Jose Quintana is obviously going to be the favorite of most because the former White Sox pitcher who brought them Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease, and Q was loved here. So, of course, everybody wants him. I want him. I would like him back there. But here's my question. What happens when Kopech is ready, assuming the front 4 are pitching well or are pitching at all? They're not injured. I think that is something that the White Sox really have to think about and consider, because you're not going to spend $10 million on Quintana to then turn around and pull him out of a rotation 6, 7 starts in, 8 starts in. If you're paying him 10, 11 million bucks even on a 1-year deal, are you okay with him giving you 10 starts and then moving to a bullpen and a long roll? I mean, remember last year, Gio Gonzalez was supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be the guy that came in, gave you some starts, but he only made 4.5. Now we're talking over double, most likely, of what Jose Quintana would get. So I don't know if he's the guy. There's some other options, but we'll see. But like I said, Lance Lynn adds a top-of-the-rotation type guy, a top 3 guy, which is exactly what the White Sox need. They needed that veteran. And then they have 2 spots for young pitchers. You have Dylan Cease. I think Reynaldo Lopez, he could be that guy. He could just be the guy that, starts in the rotation. They give him a shot with Ethan Katz and see if they can work with him. Supposedly they're changing his arm action, his arm slot. We'll see how that works. Maybe he's the 5th guy, and they just don't. They sign a cheap reliever, or they bring in a non-roster guy who makes the team. Or they go with another young guy, like a Tyler Johnson or something. Or Bernardo Flores. I think these are the type of moves that could be made. I would rather see someone else other than Reynaldo. I think we kind of know what he is. But again, Ethan Katz is bringing something different to the table as the new pitching coach. Allowing a different style to come in here and work with these young guys. And I think he can really help. I think he can really help these guys. And bringing in Lance Lynn just kind of calms everything in the rotation, in my opinion. Still have the question mark about 5, but your front 4 with Cease is set. You had that glaring hole that you needed someone in the top 3. Yes, of course I would have preferred Trevor Bauer. But that obviously didn't happen, and we've heard rumblings that the White Sox weren't going to spend at the top of the free agent market, which is mainly 3 guys this year. It's only Trevor Bauer, it's only George Springer, and it's JT Realmuto. Well, the first 2 definitely fit what the White Sox need. Reports are leaning towards they're not going to go that way. So if that's the case, okay. Well, how do you change that up? How do you add to your roster at the next level? Well, that's how you do it right here with the Lance Lynn move. You bring in Lance Lynn. He's now your 2 or 3 in the rotation, however you want to set him up. And the playoffs all depend on opponent and how they're pitching and all this stuff. But assuming health, most likely your 1, 2, 3 will be Giolito 1, Lynn, Keuchel 2, 3, and you have a good 3. And now you feel comfortable because, you're hoping Dylan Cease and or Michael Kopech show that, yeah, we got some guys now. And one other thing to consider before we jump to the right field spot and the closer spot, which they still need to address, is Garrett Crochet. He's a guy that I think stays in the minors to start the year. You don't get this guy. I know he was lights out, and I know he avoided the big injury, so maybe that'll play into it a little bit. But you try and make this guy a starter if you can. And if he goes out there and he can throw, 115 innings, 120 innings in AAA this year, or even just 100 innings at least, because the season's going to be messed with some because of COVID. He can throw 100 innings and then come up in September. Say the baseball season's just a regular 162 games, and he can come up into September and pitch out of your bullpen. That's a weapon. That's a weapon going into the playoffs. That is a guy that can come out and give you multiple innings because he's stretched out. Obviously, we know he's lights out and he can pitch really, really well, even at the big league level. But with Lance Lynn only being a 1-year deal, if he comes in and shows you that, hey, I pitched really well, I want big money, the White Sox could either give him the qualifying offer, they could extend him. But if you think that Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech have turned that corner and they are legit starting pitchers now, all of a sudden they could be your 3-4, and Garrett Crochet comes in as a rookie in 2022, and he takes that 5th spot. And then you have a young rotation with a veteran and Giolito and Keuchel still, because Keuchel will be on the final year of his deal. And then you have these other young pitchers coming through the system. Jared Kelly, Matthew Thompson, Andrew Dahlquist. There's others, Jonathan Stever. He could be an impact this year. There's always some injuries. There's always guys missing starts. Jonathan Stever could be a guy that makes an impact in this roster the way that Dane Dunning did this year. Stever got his first start. He got his first taste. Now he'll most likely start the year in AAA, and I'm guessing he gets a couple starts this year. Just because of the fact that, yes, guys miss starts here and there. It's going to happen. You're not going to just get 31 starts or whatever it would be from every single starting pitcher. Things have to be adjusted. Michael Kopech will come up. You got to wait to see who they add in. If they add in another starter, that maybe someone that can go, from a starter to a reliever, even come back and start again if needed. And maybe Jose Quintana can do that. But he's never really done that. Last year he did come in 3 times, but he only pitched 10 innings for the Cubs last year because of the injury to his thumb early on in the season. The Lance Lynn move, while not the biggest Lance Lynn fan, he has pitched really well, and he does help this team exactly where they needed it. Yes, it sucks to lose Dane Dunning, but I tweeted this earlier too. In terms of stuff, in terms of just talent, Dunning cannot touch Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech, Garrett Crochet. He cannot touch those three in terms of just pure raw stuff. But Dunning did show last year that he can pitch at a pretty good level. I mean, his first 7 starts in the big leagues were pretty solid. Struck out over 9, walked just under 4, which you'd like to see that come down, but 3.97, just under a 4 ERA, and that number was pretty true when you look at his fielder independent pitching and expected fielder independent pitching. So that was a pretty true just under 4 ERA. Here's also the thing, though, about Dane Dunning that I don't think a lot of people realize. He is 12 days away from turning 26. He was an older prospect coming out of Florida when he was drafted by the Nationals. He came over in the Adam Eaton deal, so that deal, while, yes, he was helping at the major league level, it does show that that deal for Adam Eaton is still paying dividends. While it could have paid dividends for longer in terms of Dunning staying here and maybe being in the rotation longer, the fact that you can use one of those pieces to go out and get a piece that you think puts you closer to a World Series title in 2021, that's fine. Because Rick Hahn's done such a good job building up the farm system for the last 4 years. You have guys like Michael Kopech. You still have Dylan Cease. You still have Jonathan Stever, who they drafted. You still have others. You still have the young guys coming. And you have money to spend. And that, again, I want to express the fact the impact of an $8 million salary on this roster obviously allows them to do a lot more. If you want to go get a Liam Hendricks and a Joc Pederson and a Michael Brantley, I think now that that's in the realm of reality. If you went out and spent $30 million on Trevor Bauer or a George Springer, and you spent $25 on, okay, well now you're looking at, okay, now do I got to fit in a cheap right fielder, or if it was Trevor Bauer and he spent $30. Okay, now do I have to go get a cheaper right fielder? Or do I look at a guy, there's just the $8 million salary this year opens up, and plus future. You're going to feel better if Joc Pederson says, I want 2 years, $18 million, or 2 years, $22 million. You're going to say, okay, we can handle that next year because we're not paying Lance Lynn as of right now. You can make that decision based on how he pitches. So while losing Dane Dunning hurts, and it sucks because I know everybody wants to keep their prospects and hoard them, we all got to remember that prospects are used in terms of currency, basically, to buy veteran players that we think can help push the team to that next level. And yes, Lance Lynn will have a bigger impact on the 2021 Chicago White Sox than Dane Dunning would have. That's just fact. So, a solid move. That's what I like. Just right now, when I saw it in the middle of the night and thinking about it all night, and then waking up thinking about it a little bit more before I did this podcast, I'd give this move a solid B. Just a very solid B. I don't think it's the greatest move. I thought maybe Dane Dunning was a bit of an overpay, but slightly. And I just worry about the age aspect of Lance Lynn. But he's shown the last 2 years, and the fact that he didn't throw a ton last year because of the COVID and the shortened season. I like the move. I give it a solid B, and then we'll have to wait for the season to play out in the playoffs and everything to see where the deal really stands. I think it's an excellent move for Texas. I think it's a great move. I think the fact that they get to bring in a Dane Dunning type pitcher who is young, can work in that stadium, I really like that move for the Texas Rangers. I think Dane Dunning will fit in their rotation immediately, and he will have success in the American League. He will have success in baseball. So it's a solid move both ways. I'd give a slightly better grade maybe a B+ to the Rangers, but I like it for both teams. I think this team made sense, or this trade, made sense for both teams. All right, now real quick, looking at the other options, the other holes the White Sox need to fill. Right field, we'll start there. There's a lot of chatter amongst us White Sox aficionados about them going after Joc Pederson. Is Joc Pederson the right fielder of the future for the Chicago White Sox and kind of a platoon with Adam Engel? I think that makes sense. I think that would be a guy that comes in, gives you power from the left side. Now here's my question again. It kind of goes back to the Michael Kopech sort of question when we look at the top prospect in their organization, and Andrew Vaughn. Okay, Andrew Vaughn, how many at-bats do they realistically think he needs? Big difference between Vaughn and Kopech is he started in the majors. He had starts here and then got hurt. Vaughn is still just coming. He has not played above A ball. But when you hear scouts, when you hear people talk about it, you just hear the passion they talk about Andrew Vaughn with. That you hear them talk about his abilities, his traits, his poise, everything about this guy. It just screams that he's going to be a very good player, a very well-liked player, a guy that will eventually, in a couple of years, assuming he's here, take the reins from Jose Abreu and be the next first baseman in this line of White Sox first basemen they got going, from Frank Thomas in 1990 to Jose Abreu right now heading into 2021 with Konerko sandwiched in the middle. You know, we expect Andrew Vaughn to be the next guy in line. Just come in and have his great career here in Chicago for 8, 9, 10, 12 years and be a professional hitter that's hitting close to 290 with 30 home runs and getting on base at a high level. That's just what we expect now from first baseman as Chicago White Sox fans, and I don't see why that shouldn't happen for Andrew Vaughn. But the question is, for this year, how long do they think he needs before he's ready to come up? See a guy that, they think, we could just leave him down in the minors. We can go out and sign a Michael Brantley to go with Joc Pederson. I'm saying Joc Pederson is signed, and we go get Michael Brantley. Maybe we overpay for a 1-year deal. Maybe we give him a little extra money on a 1-year deal, so he takes the 1-year deal to come and compete for a title on a team. He would be the perfect fit, and then you let Eloy DH majority of the games. Michael Brantley plays left field and DHs, switch back and forth with, and you got some, you can move some pieces around. If Eloy plays, right field for a game, I'm not really worried. Remember, the center fielder, Luis Robert, is arguably the best center fielder in baseball already, defensively. You can really work with these two guys, and if you bring both them in, that lineup would be dirty. I'm telling you. I tweeted it out, or maybe I texted it to a buddy. I don't remember, but, you think about it. You could go, off the top of my head, you could go Anderson 1 at shortstop, obviously, Brantley 2 in left field, Makata 3 at third base, Abreu 4 at first base, Eloy 5 at DH, Grandal 6 catching. You could go Robert 7 in center field, Pederson 8 right field, Madrigal 9 second base. That's a hell of a lineup. You got power. You got Michael Brantley fits in terms of low strikeout, gets on base. Listen, I know everybody's like, he can't play right field. He can't play right field. Fine, sure, he can't play right field. He played a solid left field in Houston the last 2 years. Listen, I was there. I watched a ton of Astros games. He can play a solid left field. It's not going to be great. but he can be average, and that's all they need. Because Joc Pederson can play an average right field. Adam Engel, we know, can play an above average right field. And maybe those days when Adam Engel's playing, you could play Eloy out in the outfield occasionally, because that allows Engel and Luis Robert can shift a little bit towards left field and help out Eloy. Like, that's, those are the kind of things that this would do. But Michael Brantley would be a solid addition to this team. But the big question is Andrew Vaughn. You don't want to block Andrew Vaughn. He's a top 15 prospect in baseball who is borderline ready, I would say. So that's going to be the big question the White Sox have to ask themselves. Are we okay? Because if you sign, say, 2 guys that you think have to be in the lineup most days, and those 2 would, then you are blocking him because Eloy's going to DH. Now, of course, if there's an injury, then he comes up. But you essentially are blocking him if you sign 2 guys. So that's where the White Sox have to decide, how are they going to do this? How are they going? Another guy that's out there is Kyle Schwarber. A lot of people in White Sox land want him. A lot of people don't want him. I'm on the side of I don't really want him. I don't think he's, he gets on base at a decent clip, but the hitting's just not there. Yeah, he'll drop a bomb every once in a while, but the White Sox need more hitters. And if you're going with Joc Pederson, he's a guy that's going to strike out and hit for some power, so they need that balance. Nick Madrigal helps them with that. They need someone that helps with that balance a little bit more, maybe doesn't strike out so much, and Michael Brantley could do that. But in the end, you just want the best players, the best fit. And Andrew Vaughn could be the best fit come June 1st, July 1st. And then if you've blocked him, what do you do in that situation? Yes, obviously you can trade guys. But it's just something that the White Sox have to consider, just like adding a 5th starter with Michael Kopech going to be ready at some point early in the season. And then real quick, lastly, some names to look at for the closer role. I almost said Liam Hendricks. Colomé, who obviously the White Sox know. I think he will at least be considered to be brought back. You have Trevor Rosenthal. You have Kirby Yates. You have some guys there that could be of some interest to the White Sox. I think they'll get one of them. Trevor Rosenthal seems to make some sense in my mind, just because I don't think he'll cost as much as Liam Hendricks. But maybe the White Sox swing big here and go Liam Hendricks to pair with Aaron Bummer and Cody Hoyer and Evan Marshall. So there are some names to finish that bullpen, because I think the rest of the bullpen is set. When you look at Foster and Fry and the way they set up right now, the Lopez probably there. So I think that, there's some guys out there, and I expect the White Sox to be active in that little market of closers / back-end relievers. All right, that's going to do it. It's been about 30 minutes. Quick. Glad the White Sox got Lance Lynn. I think it's a solid move. They needed to make the move to get a starter like it. They did. It's Lance Lynn. Yeah, I think they could have done better, but I think they could have done a lot worse. So, props to Rick Hahn, who continues to build this team to try and win a title. Plain and simple. That's what he's doing. He said he was going to do it 5 years ago, and that's what he's continued to do. Working different angles to make this team better. All right, that'll do it. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam G. Sager, on Instagram at Adam G. Sager. Email the show at straight2thepointpod@gmail.com. I will hit you up if we got any other news. I'll do another one, and we'll talk about it. Look for Joc Pederson, a closer, maybe a left fielder / DH to pair with Eloy. White Sox still got some moves to make, but we're early in the regular season, or in the off season, excuse me. Plenty of time to make these moves. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.